It's Killershrewfan's 12 Days of Reviews. Hello and welcome back to Killershrewfan's 12 Days of Reviews. Every year I try to make it a point to review one of Schleich's older models during this time of year. Partly because it being the end of the year, I like to use it as sort of a little bit of retrospect to show people just how far we have come when it comes to producing dinosaur models. It's also done just to remind you that this is a fun occasion and we like to have fun on this channel because Schleich's older dinosaur models are oftentimes laughable, and that is the case with today's offering. Here before you, you see the Schleich Allosaurus from the year 2001. 2001, don't believe me? Have a look at the belly here. It's written clear as day, 2001. You can't see that. We'll give you a closer look later. But 2001 is the year that this was designed, approved, mass-produced, and sold to people as a dinosaur toy. Now, just for a little bit of perspective, 2001 was 2 years after the BBC Walking with Dinosaurs documentary, and a year after the Ballad of Big Al. Not to mention that it was roughly around this time that when Dinosaurs Roamed America was out and about, cashing in on the success of the Walking with Dinosaurs series. So there is zero reason this should look as ridiculous. If this came out before the dinosaur renaissance, you know, if this was like a mid-century thing in the 20th century, then fine, maybe. But this is 2001. 2001. I just want to let that sink in before we jump into ripping this thing to shreds. It is just mind-boggling to me that something this retro, this wrong, could come out in an updated year. Now maybe that was Schleich's intent the entire time. Maybe they wanted to make a retro line of dinosaur toys, but none of my research into Schleich and its history has indicated anything of the sort. This, like many of their other older models, feels like a mistake, and we're gonna give you guys a closer look at it right here and right now on Killershrewfan's Killer Toy Reviews. Before we do that, though, I do want to say that yes, this was a toy in 2001. Yes, it was made for kids. Yes, it was an affordable item that could be purchased at museums as souvenirs to be played with. Now, however, it is darn near 18, it's gonna be 20 years old in about a year. So, that being said, and the fact that it is now long out of production, makes it more of a collector's item than a toy. So yes, for our intents and purposes, this is a collector's item being reviewed by an adult collector. It is not, and has never been, my intention to make this video for kids. So there is my vocal disclaimer for you today. Alright, that out of the way, let's do this. Now before we begin taking a look at the model, I do want to note it comes with this very hefty booklet of a tag that kind of gives you factoids about the dinosaur in several different languages, and it does come with a human figure to kind of give you an idea of the scale of this Allosaurus. And as you can see, this thing retailed for $12 back in the day, which is entirely too much to spend on this absolute goofy model. And it's funny that they even have the booklet, because that implies that they're going for facts and accuracy. But as you can see, looking at this thing, they did not achieve it. What can I say about the sculpture of this thing? It doesn't look like an Allosaurus. I guess to its credit, it kind of reminds me of this dinosaur model that we have at our local museum here, but that doesn't excuse it. It doesn't make it okay. The visual information that's presented to us is barely reminiscent of an Allosaurus. In fact, I don't even think it is. The head shape is completely wonky. The iconic crests of the Allosaurus are here, but like not really. I mean, it just kind of looks like shrink wrapping in front of the eyes there. And the eyes are so pop buggy-eyed, that you can see them jutting from the skull if you look at this thing from the front. It is ludicrous, and like the individual areas of the eye are sculpted, like the eye is like the actual eyeball itself, but then the iris is sculpted in, the pupil is sculpted in. Usually people, just paint that, but Schleich went above and beyond, I guess. They didn't do that for the teeth, as you can see, because the teeth are not even individually sculpted. They're individually painted, granted, but it just looks like ridges in there. It doesn't look like teeth. The rest of the body offers very little in terms of visual interest. I mean, most of the texturing is this sort of cracked mud scaling texture. I'll give it credit, there's some nice wrinkles in the shoulder region and bunching up around the thigh as the leg kind of pushes the skin forward. But really, that's about it. Everything else is just this ugly, crosshatch, cracked texturing that doesn't look at all like an organic covering. It looks like mud. Like this thing took a mud bath and now that mud is slowly drying and cracking. As you can see, you've also got like these sort of ridges, I won't call them dermal spines, that start at the back of the skull and continue to just above the hips there. But no, there's just so very little going on in terms of sculptural interest on this dinosaur. The focal point is the head, and that's only because how goofy it looks. Taking a look at the feet, they are absolutely tiny, painted with jet black toe claws. There is some nice wrinkles down around the ankle as the feet kind of bend to hold the creature upwards, and the kneecaps do have some bunching up of the skin as well. So I guess, yeah, there's some detail. The hands are pronated, as you can see, and the claws have been dulled for play safety. The musculature in the arms is just non-existent. This thing has very spindly, very weak-looking arms. It looks like it needs to hit the gym, if I'm being 100% honest. The underbelly, again, doesn't feature a lot in terms of visual interest, more of that cracked mud texturing. There you can see Allosaurus, copyright 2011! 2011 was when this thing was produced. And yeah, the texturing continues all the way down to the tip of the tail on the underbelly as well. The pose on this thing is also just very unappealing. It looks like it's the hunchback of the Jurassic era. It's hunched over at the hips with the tail sloping down behind it and resting on the ground. I just don't know, man. I mean, I'll give them credit. They at least tried to give it the horizontal posture, but then they sloped the tail down for what I assume to be balance purposes. But even with the proportions of this thing, I can't imagine it would want to fall back on the tail if the tail was upright. I imagine it would want to go forward on the head. Maybe if they made the feet a little bit bigger, they could have avoided this, but I don't even think a horizontal posture would have saved this thing. In terms of the paint job, it's another bland color scheme from the older days of Schleich. Browns atop browns, resulting in a thrilling shade of mud and exacerbating that issue that the texture looks like mud. I mean, you've got this sort of chocolate brown base coloration and then this dark brown stripes running from the back of the skull all the way down to the tip of the tail. So it's just visually badly sculpted, poorly painted, an all-around mess of a model. Yet you have to love it just looking at how happy he is to be here. Look at that smile. He's just glad to be involved, the little scamp. Now, for measurements, this is actually one of the larger, older Schleich offerings, coming in at roughly, 9.75 inches from tip of tail to tip of snout, making it about 25 centimeters long. So, sizable in terms of the overall length, and not at all dwarfed by any of the previous Schleich offerings we've taken a look at. From the top of the head, you're looking at just under 4 inches off the ground, which is about 10 centimeters. So it's not huge, but it is certainly larger than, say, last year's Ceratosaurus, which we're going to go ahead and bring in for size comparison. And to Schleich's credit, seeing these two side by side, yes, the Allosaurus is a vast improvement over the Ceratosaurus, but it's not saying much. I mean, look at that thing. There's like no contest. Ugh, Schleich, man. I don't know. I don't know. Next up for size comparison, we're going to go ahead and bring in the Papo Allosaurus just to show how far we have come since 2001 when it comes to making dinosaur models. Granted, the Schleich Allosaurus is not perfect in terms of its accuracy, but the sculptural details, paint application, all of that is just dunks on this Schleich offering, man. And if any of you who enjoy collecting Papo like myself ever get the whole, well, Papo's not scientifically accurate, so they're no good argument, just pull up this video and remind them that Schleich exists. Next up for size comparison, we're going to go ahead and bring in a much more accurate Allosaurus, the new for 2019 Safari Limited Allosaurus, again just to show how far we have come when it comes to depicting this model in toy form. But then again, it hasn't really been an issue for that long. I mean, Safari Limited did another version of the Allosaurus way back when. That was pretty good. This new Allosaurus is a redux. Again, an improvement, but still, there is no reason on earth or heaven that this Schleich Allosaurus should have been produced in 2001. Well, there you have it, everyone. That is going to do it for our look at the Schleich Allosaurus. As you can see, this is yet another stain on the history's past. It is just embarrassingly bad. It has no visual appeal sculpturally or in terms of the paint. Accuracy is thrown out the window, and the fact that it was fairly recent in the lineup from Schleich is just, it's pitiable. It's pitiable. I don't know what else to say about it. I mean, yes, if you're a fan of retro dinosaurs, I mean, I kind of am. I love all the old Harryhausen films, and I grew up reading all the outdated library books because that's all I could find. Yes, I suppose this has a nostalgic factor to it, and if you like it, more power to you. I guess the whole, like, cutesiness of his face, how happy he looks, is reason enough to get it as kind of an emotional support dinosaur. He's always rooting for you. But beyond that, I can't justify this thing's existence along with any of Schleich's older offerings. I think I'm going to go ahead and give this model 3 out of 10. As always, I would love to hear what you guys think of it. Do you own it? Will you try to pick it up now? What was your favorite older Schleich model? Leave all of your thoughts down below. I love reading through your comments. And as always, if you enjoyed our review today, do not be afraid to let us know by hitting that like button. And don't forget to subscribe on the way out so you don't miss the rest of Killershrewfan's 12 days of reviews. As always, we will see you tomorrow for the next one. Bye-bye.